Hey, paisans, the time has come. On the air since 2009, the independently produced, non-FCC compliant champ of video game talk podcasting. Here comes Tiger Claw Radio. Here's your host, Critical Failure.
Yes, friends, it's time for Tiger Claw Radio. Man, I'm feeling good. I'm in good spirits. It's episode 481. And it's October is here. This is being recorded on October 2nd, 2024. And October is always a party month for me, man. It's a really good time. I've got some bullet points from the last couple weeks while I was off that I want to go over. But we're going to kick things off with a chiptune. I went back to chipmusic.org. And chipmusic.org, they don't turn over very fast, right? Because most of the chiptune culture is centered around Battle of the Bits right now. But the chiptunes that do surface there are really, really good. The last episode we kicked off with 8-Bit Chintendo, and I almost played that track again this week. But 8-Bit Chintendo, I only ever find him there along with a couple other people. And this is from Amateur LSDJ, and it's called Keep the Doctor Away. Bunch of stuff coming. Super excited. Stick around. You're listening to Tiger Claw Radio. that's a pretty sweet track, man. Amateur LS DJ did a really, really good job on that. All right, so let's kick things off by heading over to. Let me open Discord. So I have a server in Discord that I keep just for myself, and I've been using that to dump bullet points and just things I wanted to talk about. And hang on a second. So let me roll it on back. Yeah, here we go. Post September. I can't remember how much of this I talked about last time or not. The first couple things were okay. Well, why don't we start about the Steam sales? Because if I talked about this last time, it still holds true. So one thing that's different about Steam now than when I started using it like a decade ago, 12, 13 years ago, however long it's been. There's a list of all of the major sales for the year that you can follow, and I'm looking at it now, and it's October 2nd. The next big one is Steam Screamfest 3, which I assume is like what took the place of the major Halloween sale, and that starts October 28th. October 28th through November 4th, so that's a solid 3 weeks away, thereabouts. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 3.5 weeks away. Yeah, so we got a couple of months. Hold on to your pennies. Historically, the way Steam's worked is they have 3 big sales at the end of the year. They've got Halloween, and then there's another really big one on Thanksgiving, and then there's another really big one on Christmas. And I think the first one has given way to several theme-based big sales over the year. For example, right now on Steam, they've got the Turn-Based Fest. Lots of turn-based games, which is pretty cool. Turn-Based RPG Fest. Very nice. Also, another one going on that I'm kind of kicking myself that I'm not going to be able to take part of is Koei has a big sale. I love Koei games. Nobunaga's Ambition, Romance of the Three Kingdoms. I grew up playing Uncharted Waters, New Horizons, Uncharted Waters 2 on the Super Nintendo. And so I'm a big Koei fan. And those games, they never go on sale. Never. And not only do they never go on sale, but I don't think they ever drop in price either. Like, they stay $60 when they get their release price, and they just stay that way because Koei games are expensive. And if you go back in the old catalog, you can't play those either because they never made it to English. So now you've got Romance of the Three Kingdoms and Nobunaga's Ambition, and they're about $35 for a game. Any other game, I'd be like, man, that's too much. But I don't know. That's just how you got to do it if you want to play those games on PC. So there you go. Cool stuff. Let's go back to the list. I can't remember if I talked about this or not either, but I didn't try it, so it's just a headline. IndieRetroNews.com. So this was a site that I kept on my radar for a long time on TCR. They would make games for the Amiga and occasionally the Commodore 64. And I had a C64 Mini that I ordered off of Amazon. I got mine for $30. Now I think they're like $40, but you can still get one for pretty cheap. And you can sideload games on it. So this site, Indie Retro News, whenever they'd cover a Commodore 64 game, it would always be like, boom, I can sideload that onto my C64 Mini. And I got really into it for a while. So right now, the big one that I have on my notes is Spelunky 64, rebirth of a hit game now for the Commodore 64. Spelunky. You guys ever play Spelunky? I know Hemrock has, because I think that's yet another one of the big gaming milestones that I learned about from him. He told me about the original Spelunky when it was a free game. You know what? Hang on a second. I got the window open because it's hot in my office, and I'm going to close it because I think somebody is cutting their grass. There we go. Is that better? So bear with me. I got a new audio interface. I'm trying to fix my microphone popping issues that I've had for a long time. Got a new audio interface, and I have a new microphone picked out that I'm going to be ordering in the next couple weeks. So hopefully we can say goodbye to the pop fizz, oh what a relief it is, that's been plaguing TCR for years now. That'll be nice. The problem is some of the knobs are in different places, so it's another piece of equipment that I have to get used to. All right, back to the list. This one, okay, so Dusk All right. Are you familiar with Dusk? Dusk is a game which I think you could credit Dusk as being the game that coined the phrase boomer shooter. How do you guys feel about this? I talked with Sean, and the term boomer shooter always gives me like a negative reaction because it's like people who like these kinds of games are old. But on the other hand, the fact that it's its own subgenre now and a lot of games are being made with this moniker, boomer shooter, that sort of flipped my opinion. And now like I really like it because, yeah, that's people are making the kind of game I like. Yeah, so Dusk, which was one of the first ones to gain traction, one of the first modern ones to gain traction that was totally original, not derivative of like an old IP. That just recently got an update, and they added endless levels, so horde levels. And I really like horde mode in FPS games. The last really, really good one I played was Quake. Several years ago when Quake got its remastered edition, they added horde levels, and they were really good. So Dusk added some, and I spent some time with them, and they were really good. They're really good. They start off easy, and the difficulty builds. Which, when it comes to video games and difficulty, I think it's the hardest thing for a game developer to do. A game developer can make an easy game, and they can make a difficult game, but making that difficulty ramp up at a steady pace, I think is something that a lot of games miss. And Dusk really did that with the endless levels. I think they did a good job. So I had some fun with them. I'd kind of moved on from the game Dusk, so I didn't stick with them for long, but I put in a good couple of hours playing those. So yeah, if you don't have Dusk, it's a good time to get it. Last one I have is Red Dead Redemption 1 is coming to Steam, which is, to me, that's huge. Now, you're probably aware by now of this trend, particularly with Xbox. The games that we know as like Xbox exclusives have been making their way to the PC for quite some time now. We've had Red Dead Redemption 2 for years, and I just never got around to buying it, which is on me, because it looks amazing. And we're finally going to get Red Dead Redemption 1, which I'm super stoked about. So there you go. Next, Netflix is saying there's going to be a Devil May Cry anime coming in April 2025. So if you really hate yourself, keep an eye out for that. And this is a big one here that I wish I had more information about. I think at one point this was going to be the focal point of the show, is that Pal World, the game that's on Steam, the developer Pocket Pair is being sued by Nintendo. Pal World developer Pocket Pair responds to Nintendo Pokemon lawsuit, says it's unaware of the patents it's accused of infringing. This was like a big deal when it first hit the headlines, and then it sort of got memory hold, which is really kind of sad in my opinion. Last one we got is there's a big PlayStation network outage. And I just checked, and their services are back up now. But PSN was down for a long time. I don't know exactly how long, but it was long enough that there were headlines about it. So there you go. As if my trust in PSN has ever been lower. There you go. You might remember probably about 10 years ago. Do you remember Lizard Squad? And they took PSN out right around Christmas for like 3 weeks or something like that. Oof. And then everybody's credit card information got leaked. All right, boys and girls, let's head over to Discord and see what we have. I know we get some stuff from Hemrock. Good to hear from you, brother. Over the Failbag channel. Now let's go back quite a bit. The Ambernick RG35XX SP. This is, I think, the last one of those handhelds that I purchased. It's the one of the ones that's shaped like the Game Boy Advance SP. And I liked it because, well, it's not the only one that does this, but it's got two SD card slots, which people listed as a negative for a long time. But it's got two SD card slots, and it's good enough to play just about any PS1 game. Again, a lot of other systems do that, but the chipset's gotten better so that now there's fewer, like, omissions. Like, typically when people say, oh, it can play any PS1 game, the litmus test is Tekken 3, because it's a harder game to run. And this can do it just fine. So because it has an internal and external SD card. I got an enormous SD card for the external, and it houses an enormous PS1 library, which is great. So you might know this. I have a very large amount of Japanese PS1 games. They're pretty cheap to import, and so over the last couple weeks, I underwent a large movement to get them all digitized. I ripped as many as I could, and I can put them all on my RG35XXSP. And so he says, I have to go back quite a bit. Okay, this is on the 23rd. I think I didn't go back far enough. TCR 480 was a good one. I'm glad that YouTuber fixed its search. Excuse me, golly. I'm glad that YouTube fixed its search for Tiger Claw TV. I remember that being an issue in the past. I really enjoyed the ROM hacking info. Thanks for keeping us up to date on the undead status of romhacking.net. At this point, the use of a Phoenix Down would lead to instant death. I appreciate your kind words about a possible chiptune show. I literally recorded one early 24 on my way to the ATG Expo, but I never sat down to edit. Maybe I can put this possible one-time pilot episode together. Here's a few links that you might find of interest. No pressure to use them for the show. ROM Hacking Plaza. He's got a couple from ROM Hack Plaza, and then one from GitHub. So Mario Adventure 3, last updated on the 23rd of September, and Wizardry 7, English-Japanese translation for PlayStation. Yes, that is awesome, because I actually have that game for the PS1, and now I can partially translate to English. That is sweet, dude. Thank you so much. For those of you who are not familiar, the Wizardry series, very popular in Japan, way more so than it is here in America. And most of the Japanese games, in the options menu, you can switch them over to English and just play them. Not all of them, but most of them. And Wizardry 7, Jewel of Guardia, or Crusaders of the Dark Savant, as we know it in America, doesn't have the ability to do that. So that's one that's been on my shelf for a while. Can't play it. And it looks like, I'm not seeing a percentage, but it looks like that it has been translated some, which is pretty sweet. Let's take a look at this Mario Adventure NES. Mario Adventure 3 NES ROM hack. Incredible 12-year project that boasts so many new features, including new power-ups, new maps, enemies, mechanics, physics, a day and night system, and so much more. From the author's site, it has been nearly 12 years since this project began. Many of this game's elements are iterations and polishes of concepts found in prior projects. Mario Adventure 3 is more than a 12-year project. It's a 20-year amalgamation of ideas waiting to see fruition. Many of the ideas seen in Mario Adventure 3 are improvements of prior game ideas, such as the day and night system from Mario Adventure, weather effects from Mario Adventure, item shop from Mario Adventure and Luigi vs. Mario. And that's a huge list that just goes on and on. And then finally, it says permission was granted from the ROM hack author to post this patch. So that's really sweet. When you talk about emulation handhelds, right? They all play the same library of games for the most part. So it becomes, okay, well, if you can play all the cartridge-based games ever, what are you going to sit down and play? So when something like this comes along, I think it's worth talking about. That's really cool. And I regret not having actually gone through this and given it a try. Since you like ROM hacks, have you ever gotten into fan games? Sorry. The last one was, since you mentioned Pokemon Bronze, I believe this one had an update. Pokemon Solus RGB. ROM hack of Pokemon Red and Blue with a focus on an enhanced near vanilla solo gameplay experience. Solus Red, Solus Green, Solus Blue. And these are not ROM hacks. This is a GitHub project. So this looks like a completely like a native Windows game that you can run. But I'd have to investigate further. Yeah, Pokemon Bronze was really good. What brought that game to a halt for me was that it's a ROM hack of Pokemon Gold, so it has the day and night feature. But I can't manipulate the clock, and it won't update with real time. So like when it becomes nighttime, you're just stuck in nighttime for 8 hours of gameplay, and there's not really much you can do about it. And that eventually got me to stop playing. That along with getting stuck. But when I was on vacation, I think that was that a beach vacation? I think that might have been Hilton Head, but I had a vacation where the game to play was Pokemon Bronze on the RG Nano, the tiny little thing. And me and my daughter went back and forth, and she was helping me level my Pokemon, and I was like exploring and stuff. It was a good time. Let's see. I wonder if Sendu has ever heard of Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers. Let's see. Let's see what we got. Fan games that could be official. I'm going to pause this and take a quick look. Okay, so you can find these links in the failbag section of the Discord. And I pushed through them pretty quick. But if you own a portable like emulation device, check this out. There's a number of recognizable games in there, but a lot that I didn't recognize. Like, I'll give you an example. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think I spotted a Link's Awakening hack called Legend of Zelda Parallel Worlds. That's a classic. I mean, if you go on AliExpress and you look for cartridges, that one's going to show up because all the AliExpress, cartridge bootleggers sell it. A lot I haven't seen, though, which is really cool. So the one you mentioned in particular... hang on 1 second. 1 second, my boys. You asked about this racing game. There's a racing game in there, sprite-based racing game with Sonic the Hedgehog characters called Dr. Robotnik's Ring Racers. I've never seen that before. Don't know if Sendo has either, but, he's definitely somebody who knows way more about Sonic than I'll ever know. So... that is a good question worth asking. The only game, the game that reminds me of, I can't remember the name of it, but there was a hack. There was a Doom WAD. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. I should look this up, but there's a Doom WAD where they used the Doom engine and turned it into a sprite-based Sonic the Hedgehog racing game. And it's not the game you're talking about, but it reminded me of that. And I got to play it one time. There was a guy at work that I worked with who was really into Doom 2 mods, Doom 2 WADs and stuff. And this would have been probably like 4 years ago. And I had to jump through some extra hoops to get it working, but he showed me how to do it. And we played it together for one night. And man, it was so good. It was so good. You think of like Doom, how could you turn Doom into a racing game? Well, these guys did it, and it was definitely Sonic the Hedgehog. And I wish I knew the name of it because that'd be worth looking up again. But I don't know, Sendu, are you around, brother? I talked to Sendu. I had messages with him, last month when we had that brief outage in the Emerald Rangers podcast network that he was on and he was able to get it up and running. But I haven't talked to him since then. So, what do you know? What do you think, man? You know that one? All right, what else we got? I wonder, okay, P.S. Chiptune Special was awesome. P.P.S. The timer has expired. Oh, yeah. I wish I had that sound. So, quick recap. I have an alarm on my phone, that I use for all sorts of things because I have ADHD, so things just go right out of my head. And so I use this alarm all the time on my phone. And my kids used to argue about the songs I would pick for the alarm, and they would always hate my songs. And so finally, I picked some song, and they were like, Dad, I don't like that. I was like, fine, you don't like it? I'm going to do it myself. And I just screamed into the phone. And here, holding my phone up to the microphone, is the result. The timer has completed. Oh, yeah! And when we did Tiger Fest several years ago, that became something we goofed about quite a bit. All right, so quick break. There's more here to go over, but we passed the 20-minute mark. This is the part of the show where I like to thank the sponsors. It's a Patreon-sponsored program, and these individuals give of their resources to make sure we can keep coming back. So as an old tradition, I like to read their names off in a hall of distinguished gentlemen, and they are Darabka, Tecmo Balls, and EmeraldRangers.com. Good old Sendu from Emerald Rangers. Love those guys. You guys have been keeping us afloat, and I just appreciate it to no end. So I hope you're enjoying the party. That said, let's get back to what we have on Discord. Mario Adventure 3, Wizardry, GitHub, fan games that could be so good they could be official from C.A. Brown. We went over those. And then he says, by the way, I really got back into Minecraft. Well, the zombie hacked version. It's been a long time since a game sucked me in like Minecraft has. I'm glad. I want to do that as well. So how difficult was it to get up and running? I mean, you sent me a video, but I mean, did you run into anything that wasn't listed there? I haven't done Minecraft Java in a long time, and I've been maintaining Minecraft. I play it with my kids, but we moved over to Bedrock, and the reason why is because all that stuff that you have to do to mod and patch, that's all gone. Instead, you just buy the mods and it installs it for you, which is not great. You know, it's terrible because they're selling you stuff that used to be free, but it's also cross-platform and very, very easy to play multiplayer. Very easy to play multiplayer, which is really big for me and my kids. My daughter sits down at my computer. She opens up Minecraft. She starts playing. I pull out my phone. I jump in the same game. And we start building stuff. That's how I've been playing Minecraft. So this world that you're into now, you know, where you can download these patches for free, and you got to open up the native files and replace stuff and put things in the right place. I haven't done that with Minecraft in a long time. A long time. I would do it again, but it's been a good bit. There was a mod that they used to give away called Ray's Minimap mod, and I think it's changed names, but it's probably still around. It had a minimap, and then it also had a waypoint system, and then you could teleport between the waypoints, and I loved that one so much, man. It was so good. Being able to like hop around a little bit between settlements and things like that, I thought was really cool. And in the Bedrock version, it's not around anymore, but there's a command now, and it's probably in a Java edition as well. You should try this: /TP space and then a coordinate, and it will teleport you there. So you don't really need a mod anymore. Excuse me. So what we did instead, I have these books. You know, I've got my high score book. I opened a place. You write the map name, and it's the map that I play with my daughter, and we keep coordinates of interesting areas, and you can just jump back and forth. And I think it's a really neat way to do it. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. The downside is you would have to buy Minecraft again altogether if you wanted to play Bedrock Edition together. It would be nice because we could like play on phones and stuff for just a few minutes, but that's a lot for just Minecraft. So I'm glad you're digging the zombie hacked version. It would be cool to try that as well. I got single player mod up and running. Never quite figured out multiplayer. Which right there, that sentence, never quite figured out multiplayer. That's the big reason I didn't go back to Java Edition. We had a back and forth about the Pico, about the RG35XXSP, which is good. And he pitches a custom firmware, which is something that I've been waiting till October to do. And now it's October, so I might give it a try today once I go off the air. So the problem with these handhelds is they always work better with custom firmware. But when you do custom firmware, you lose all of your save games or whatever from before the switchover. It's, to the average player, not a big deal at all. But usually my kids get a hold of them before that, and they don't want excuse me, they don't want me to lose their save data. A perfect example would be the RG Nano. Tiny little one. I just told you about, Pokemon Bronze, all that stuff. My daughter doesn't want me to lose my save data, and not just Pokemon Bronze that we played together. She spent some time playing Pokemon Sapphire, which I'm going to come out and say it. It's not a good system to play Pokemon Sapphire on. The biggest downfall of the RG Nano is not the size; it's the aspect ratio. You're playing in a perfect square. So if you're playing a GBA game, it's going to mash it into something that's pretty stretched out. And yes, you can play letterbox, but the screen is so tiny already. You play it in letterbox, you're not going to be able to read anything. But that's what she settled on. what happened was, it was a summer. We had season passes for a theme park that was like 2 hours away. So I would bring this RG Nano with us to the theme park every single time we went. We would go every weekend. And when we would drive home, she was always, grumpy because she's a kid, and we would be there for like a lot of hours, and she'd be worn out. Like any reasonable kid, she'd be out of gas. So when we get to the car, I'd give her the RG Nano, and I would say, "Don't get sick," because we'd be in the car, and she'd play for a while, and then she'd turn it off when she was done. And so because of that, she built this save file, and the RG Nano's got some cool stuff that you can do with it, but I can't go from that initial firmware now, because she has an investment in the game, which is okay, but the reason I'm telling you this is the SP version that I have, the RG 35XX SP whatever. It's unique in that none of my kids took to it at all. I guess I have too many now or something, but none of my kids took to it. So now I'm like, yes, I can do this. I can change the firmware, and I have all my ROMs loaded into external cartridge, an external SD card. There's 2 SD cards, remember? So I can change that firmware. I don't have to reinstall all the ROMs. I love it. Let's do it, and I'm pretty excited. I don't know when it comes to like what I would use that it can't do already. I don't know, because it can play a lot of things. I'm trying to think what it can't play. It's mostly the older stuff. Like it doesn't have a Commodore 64 emulator. It can't play Doom WADs. Like I've had these handhelds before that can play Doom WADs. It has Pico 8 abilities, but they're limited. Out of the box, it can play easy RPG. It can play open RPG, like RPG Maker 2000 games. It can play those out of the box, and I thought that was enormous, to the point where, like, if I switch to a custom firmware and it can't play those games, I'm probably going to switch back. So unfortunately, I don't have that thing within arm's reach, but I want to look at the size of the card. I'm probably not going to reflash the card. I'm just going to buy another one, and then that way I can like hot swap them, which sounds like a dumb idea. But I feel like once I settle into one, then it won't matter. But there you go. So yeah, I think it's cool. One of the things he mentions is what does he say here? What does he call it? Portmaster. He says it supports Portmaster, so that you can play Angband. And that blows my mind. You can't even play Angband on Android properly. I think there is a package you can get to play it like off of Google Play, but it's not good. So to be able to play that well on my little device would be amazing. And he gives a big list of games that supposedly can run with this Portmaster. And I'm not going to read off the entire thing, but there's games here that you would not think to run on a handheld, like Fallout 1 and 2. What handheld can play Fallout 1 and 2? Any other standouts? Cave Story, Celeste. My oldest son is huge into Celeste, or was for a while. And let me tell you, he's 14 now, okay? When you're a parent, there comes a time you watch your kids when they're little, and you're the authority, and Dad, how do I do it, the thing, whatever it may be? How do I tie my shoes? How do I work the lawnmower? How do I do things? How do I whistle? How do I snap my fingers? There comes a time where your kids shoot past you, and suddenly they're the authority, and it's like, kid, can you help me? I'm going to say program the VCR, but I know nobody really does that anymore. But suddenly they are the one who knows how to work everything, and us as the parents, we're not anymore. That has happened with my oldest. When it comes to platformers, because that's his main squeeze, is platformers. He is so good at platformers, and I think part of it is he's got that tenacity, that like unnatural tenacity to play a platformer level over and over and over and over again until he gets it right. So he got really far in Celeste. He beat the main game to death, and then after the main game, there's like they did that thing where there's like a whole adventure that's so hard it's not fun, and he completed that too for some reason. And yes, he really loved Celeste, so that would be cool to be able to have that on the go. F-Zero Pocket, Freedom Planet, what else? Panzer Paladin, that's a pretty good game. Risk of Rain, that is a really good game. That would be a good game to have on the go. Spelunky, would that be the free version of Spelunky or no? Super Meat Boy, Super Crate Box, both good games. Towerfall Ascension. Towerfall Ascension I don't think would be very good because that's a party game. You know, you're playing a party game with just you, then it's a sad party. I ran into that problem with Super Mario War, which is also on this list. My first handhelds could play Super Mario War, not the Pow Kitty that you sent me, Hemrock, but the first Amberneck. I can't remember the serial number, but it was the one that it was the smallest vertical form factor handheld at the time. That thing, I was able to successfully sideload Super Mario War, and I was playing it, and I'm like, this is for multiple people, and just by myself, it's not interesting. My son, however, played it to death and enjoyed it, but me, not so much. Moving on from that, he says, for those of you who follow TCR, CF is a fan of the Final Fantasy Legend collection on Steam. You can pick it up for half off till October 7th. Yeah, that is a great collection. My brother had Final Fantasy Legends 3 on the actual Game Boy growing up, and I was able to get it myself when I was a teenager. It got stolen, you know, but so it was a game that was around a lot when I was a kid. 2 of my brothers beat it. I never did, but I started playing it in this collection, and you can double the speed, which is not abnormal, I guess, but you can double the speed, and it doesn't distort the sound. Like, you think of a song, like a background music playing, and then when you double the speed, the music also gets doubled. That doesn't happen. When you double the speed, it just plays like you would expect it to play these days, right? Very, very good collection. I'm also told that you can extract the ROMs from that collection and use them on your handhelds. So if you have any interest in collecting ROMs, you know, legally, which is really cool, that's a good one. Yeah, I should go back and finish Final Fantasy Legends 3. Didn't beat it, but I got further in it than I've ever gotten before. And it's a good game. It's a good game. Very good game. So with that, boys and girls, I think that's TCR for the week. And I feel like my head's in a little bit of a fog still from work, so you got to forgive me if I'm a little bit more rambly. But I got to say, it feels really good to be back on the horse again, making podcasts, talking about things, contributing to the community aspect of video games in a positive way, you know. So I appreciate the time that you guys spend here listening to chiptunes and chilling out and doing our thing. Because it's really cool, I gotta say. So whatever it is that's going on outside of the internet, when you log off and step out into the real world, whatever, you know, harsh things you're dealing with, because I know we've all got them. I just want you to know that I'm rooting for you. I really am. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you next week.